very pleased to introduce Dan Wassink, who is the founder and CEO of Dan's Tutorials, a website that offers tutorials on Apple products. And I hope you'll show us some of that a little bit later. But I met Dan through the Apple World User Group University, which is Zoom meetings of leaders of various Apple groups around the world. We have people from Australia and the UK that attend the meetings once a month, and we talk about things pertinent to Apple groups. And Dan has been on several of the calls, and I asked him if he'd be willing to do a Zoom call with our group. And since he is an Apple expert and has been doing this for a long time, maybe you could give us just a little bit of your background and how you got into the world of Apple, Dan, and
Sure.
We're going to have a Q&A for the meeting.
Yep. We met through this Apple User Group University, and primarily it's a group for user groups such as yourself, more of the administrators, and they can just kind of talk and try to figure out how to promote their user groups and what they can do. And I'm more of an outsider on that. I don't have a user group, but I love the user group experience. And my goal is to with them. But my background is actually in publishing. I've been working on a Mac since the early 80s. Worked for my dad had a magazine publishing company, and then I started my own magazine publishing company. And so I've been working on Macs for years. I have a Mac Plus sitting probably 5 feet in front of me. We had one of the first laser printers in our area. I started out with PageMaker and then moved to InDesign. And, at that time we were taking pictures of image and sending it to the printer. Then we got a scanner. So, I went through the whole process of, going into the digital era. And then in about 2000, I left and just started toying around with different ideas, and also started working at Apple as a genius here in Grand Rapids, or in West Michigan. I worked there about 3 years. They hired me right on as a genius based on my experience. And they said that's a pretty rare occurrence, that they generally don't. You have to go through a thing there. Like I say, worked there for about 3 years, helping people, just like what I do with these Q&As. And during that time, they came out with the App Store, and I threw out a couple of different apps. I know enough to be dangerous, let's say, with development. And the idea that kind of stuck were these tutorials. So my tutorials were on the App Store for several years. I was right at the ground floor, what I call, the gold rush days. Where you maybe had 100 apps in there, and I'm one of those 100 apps. I'm in one of those little boutique things that you see in a mall. Now the App Store is the whole entire mall, so you just your apps get buried and lost and all that good stuff. But also, what Apple decided to do in their infinite wisdom, and I'd say probably about 2017, I'm guessing 2016. They decided that they didn't want to have tutorials on Apple hardware and software in their App Store. They want to have control. They didn't like the idea of people telling people how to use their products, basically, is what it came down to. So they stopped. We couldn't, me and my competitors, if you look at most of my competitors, a lot of their apps are 3 or 4 years old, just like mine are. Apple just no longer just didn't want to have them in there. So I transitioned to online. So basically all my tutorials are online, and you can find them at Dan's Tutorials. It used to be called Noteboom Tutorials. My wife's maiden name is Noteboom, and I decided to make it a little more personal. People knew me by Dan. They got confused with Noteboom and Notebook, and they thought I had a huge staff, and really it's just me. So I changed the name a couple years ago, and now it's just Dance Tutorials. I have about 1,400 lessons on how to use Apple hardware and software, primarily obviously the software. I usually add 1 or 2 lessons a day. Right now I'm kind of working on photos with Mac OS Big Sur, and I have some other things that I'm working on. And then I also started doing, through the pandemic, I started doing these Q&As. I've been doing them for a year. I do them on my site. And then also what I've been doing is, working with user groups and presenting, at these, just what I'm doing here. And what has really worked out well, and I've gotten comfortable with it, I think with a little bit of Apple training and my experience, what really has worked out well with these user groups is these Q&As. They're like, well, what do you want to talk about? And I said, well, I think what's really come across is people have problems, and maybe I can help them with with their questions and all that. And it's gone over so well that with the Alaska user group, I think I've presented with them probably a half a dozen times.
Oh, wow.
Naples user group, I presented in person there pre-pandemic. And I actually taught a class on how to use Zoom at their classes and how to use photos last January.
So you have protein.
So sorry, cat was just jumping across my lap. So that's basically how this all came about. So, I basically do these presentations on whatever people need, but I kind of suggest, as Ann knows, of these Q&As, because I think they, my goal is I want people to be comfortable with their devices, and, people have questions. That's, and I'm pretty good at trying to find solutions. And for the most part, I can answer most questions, not everyone, but most of them. So I also do work at a private school. It's about 10 hours a week,
Yes.
about a mile away from here. And it's more or less, I work, the two tech people there are also people that I worked with at Apple. So it's a way for me to keep in communication with with those. I like them, we worked well together. So, when they said, hey, can you help us out at the school here a little bit? And I'm like, well, I can only do it for so many hours. They're like, that's fine. So I go in there on Tuesdays and Thursdays right now, just 8 to 12. I just got home, got in my office, and here I am. All right. So this is my site here. And basically what I do is, you can see I have these different lessons here. Here are I'll go to my tutorials here. And the way that I have it organized, if you want to learn about calendar, you just click on Tutor for Calendar, and then I divide it out into Mac lessons, iPad lessons, and iPhone lessons. So then you can kind of get a grasp of every, each device. So I have, I think, over 30 tutorials in here. I also am doing events. I started doing classes, or I'm going to start doing classes next in June, where I'll just talk about photos. And that came about because these Q&As were so popular. My goal was to actually just do a couple of the Q&As when I first started doing this a year ago, and then get into the classes. But the people just kept, they have questions. And a year later, I'm still getting these questions. So now I'm going to branch out and still keep doing the Q&A. And then also do classes. So that's a little bit of my site. It is a membership site right now. All of the lessons are free for the month of May. And you can just click on any one of them and watch the video. The videos are about 5 minutes long, and just click on any one to watch it. But if you want to search, if you want the site to keep track of the lessons that you've taken, you can add notes. You can resume your last lesson. For that kind of stuff, you have to be a member. And membership is about $48 a year. So, and then you get everything. Everything is unlocked. And then, of course, you're also helping support small business. I have to throw that in there.
Just as an editorial note, I was a member of the Note Boom several years ago.
Mhm.
And I joined up again with your dance
Oh,
tutorials
great. Thank you.
after meeting you again a couple months ago.
Are you seeing
And
my screen? My screen says it's being paused. They are, generally I try to keep them under 5 minutes long, and I repeat myself. Some people are like, you're repeating yourself, but that's what teachers do. You kind of go through everything and then you sum it up at the end. So that's kind of how I follow, how my tutorials are. But you can go and visit any of the lessons right now for the month of May and view them. And if you like them, all I ask is maybe become a member. So there's my selling spiel. That's not. Oh, the Apple Watch. Somebody asked about unwanted apps on the Apple Watch. Do they drain the battery? I mean, with the Apple Watch, the whole idea is now it does sleep tracking. So you want to wear, what you used to do is charge it at night, and then you would wear it during the day. Charge it at night, wear it during the day. Well, now Apple has added sleep tracking to it. So when do you charge it? And what can we do to reduce the amount of battery use, to lengthen how long it is alive yet before the battery needs charged? Deleting the apps doesn't necessarily help. And that is kind of like an old, where people, as long as the app isn't running, it's not taking up any battery power. And when it's not running, Apple got really, really good at pausing apps. And it even went as, with the iPhone. I don't know if you remember what people used to do and see it. My friends still do it. And I yell at them for like, what are you doing? They force quit apps on an iPhone. You know how you do that? You just, swipe up to kill it. And they think that they're saving battery life by force quitting the app. And same thing with the Apple Watch. You can force quit an app in the Apple Watch, but that doesn't really save the battery life. If anything, what it could do is it could make the battery life shorter. And here's why. Think of your computer. It could be Windows computer, it could be a Mac computer, any computer. When you start a program, the first time you start it, it always takes a little bit longer to start up. Why is it doing that? Because it's pulling all the resources and doing everything that it needs to do to get back into the previous state. When you switch to a different app on the iPhone and on the Apple Watch, it doesn't actually quit the program, it just pauses it. So then when you go back to that app, it doesn't actually have to start it all back up and use that extra battery power to start it back up again. It just unpauses it. Apple, right from the get-go, that was their main goal with these apps, is not having to quit them. They just want you to, when you switch to another app, it just pauses. For the most part, it just pauses. There are going to be some background things that go in the background, that run in the background, but for the most part, force quitting the app in more cases than not, what it will actually do is shorten the battery life, as opposed to what everyone thinks is prolonging it. So same thing with the Apple Watch. You don't want to necessarily force quit the apps. And deleting the apps, it doesn't really do anything as far as battery. Yes, it'll save a little bit of space, but Apple got really efficient with their with the apps on the Apple Watch. So in very, very, very small cases will you have you run out of space on the Apple Watch. So what I recommend is just leaving it as it is. Now you can, if you do want to delete the apps. Let's see if this camera works here. I'm going to show you my Apple Watch. You can delete some of the apps, but you can't delete all of them, just like with the iPhone. You can delete the calendar app, but you can't delete the contacts app. You can delete the stocks app, but you can't delete the camera app. So there are certain apps that you can delete and other ones that you can't. But if you don't use the apps, like I never use the stocks app on my Apple Watch, I could delete it. We'll try this. There I am. Switch camera. There's that one.
Okay, way to go. Getting close. There we are.
Wow.
We see it. Now, do you delete the apps on your iPhone or can you delete them from your actual watch?
We don't hear Dan. Is anybody hearing Dan?
No, Dan seems to be muted.
Yeah, you stopped.
Still mute. No, your audio is from someplace else. Can,
Well, he is showing us how to delete and it looks
Could
like
everyone see my,
we could see, but we didn't hear what you were saying.
yeah, I kept saying, it kept saying that my microphone was being changed. Okay, I'm going to switch to my camera just real short here. If you can't hear me, I'm going to tell you what is
Okay.
going to happen. What I did is I
Okay.
went to the app view and you're going to see that they're jiggling and some of the apps have an X. Any of the apps that have an X, I am able to delete. So I'll show you that here.
Okay. So you can delete from the watch.
You can delete from the watch. Absolutely. So I was going to try this again.
It's almost in focus, not quite.
yeah, that's good. And it's jiggling.
Oh, yeah, see it.
So,
Okay.
yep. So you saw in the upper left-hand corner, that's all you have to do
Yeah.
to delete those apps. It might be easier to do it on the iPhone in all honesty though. But you can delete them right from the Apple Watch and it won't cause any problem. Can't delete all of them, but you can delete some of them. So, can you see my Apple Watch?
Okay,
you can
we're
see my-
seeing your iPhone now.
All right, perfect. That's what I want. Pardon this little QuickTime thing there. So with here, what you would do, and this is probably the easiest, really what I like to do is I like to control my Apple Watch primarily through the Watch app on the phone. It's just much easier. And let's say I wanted to delete the calendar here. Well, that one I can't delete. Which one could I delete? Podcasts? No. About maybe I can't delete it from.
There are a set you
Yeah.
can and a set you can't.
Yeah. Okay, so you have to do it from the Apple Watch. Here's a little trick that I love. I don't know if people know this or not, but you know that app view where you saw those apps jiggling. What I recommend everyone doing is changing it to list view. When you change it to list view, what it will do when you push in the digital crown to show all your apps, it shows it as a list. And then you can use that digital crown to scroll through your list and they're all alphabetical. So you no longer have these icons, which you have no idea what they represent and they're all jumbled around and you got to tap a little circle. Now you get a nice little list. So I recommend always to put it in list view. It'll be much easier to select an app that you want to open up. So
Dan?
Yeah.
Can you do that on the iPhone only, or are you talking about the iWatch, or are you talking about the iPhone?
No, you can do it in both. You can do it in both. So that I showed you there on the Apple Watch. I'm going to switch to my camera again. So my audio will probably drop. So I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do and then I'll do it. Well, first of all, I'll show you the list view. So what you want to do is you want to go to the settings app on the Apple Watch.
No,
and in
iPad, iPhone.
Well, on the iPhone, yes, you go to the Apple Watch settings. So you will go to the Watch OS app. And then in there, you can change to list view. On the Apple Watch, you would actually go into the settings on the Apple Watch, and there's going to be a category for app view, I think it's called. So,
Yeah, that's what it's called on the iPhone as well.
okay. And then from there, what you can do is you can change it from list to icon. So I'll show you here. We're going
On the
to,
iPhone, it's list versus grid.
yep, list versus grid. And let's go here. Share sound. I don't want to share the sound. Okay. We're going to.
So he tapped on the digital crown and now he's showing list view.
Well,
And
now,
he's under settings. So
now he's moving back and forth between list view and grid view.
So you saw
I
that,
like
how
the
that
list
worked?
view too.
Yep, very
Yes.
well.
And like say, you can also do that through the iPhone. You know, the app, watch app on the iPhone, you can change that. So.
Linda has a question.
Right.
But Dan,
Mhm.
yeah, Dan, how do you make them jiggle? Because I can't do that. I don't know why.
You have to have it in that grid mode. And
Oh, it
then,
has to be in grid mode. Okay.
yeah. And then
Okay.
once you're in grid mode, then you can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
On the iPhone, it looks like you can hide the apps rather than delete them.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I might do that with some of mine. Although in list view, it's really not that bad because you can
Yeah.
just scroll to them. It's that grid view that's actually quite annoying. So.
Yep.
But yeah, once you put it into
Yeah,
grid view,
I
you
went
just
to
scroll.
list view.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or yeah, once you go into the list view, you can just scroll to the app that you want and you're good to go. So. Mhm.
Okay, I think that
Um,
took care of that question. Did that answer your question, Linda?
I will say I'm running into the same problem as what they talked about with the charging of the battery. So I'll just give you a few things of what I do and what my wife does. It really works out well for my wife. She's she's a self-admitted lollygagger. So she takes a while, do anything. And, when she takes a shower in the morning, she's got her whole routine and, takes about an hour. Well, that's when she charges her watch. So she kind of made it into a thing when she gets up, when she goes in the shower, charges the watch. When she's all done, puts the watch on, and that is enough to charge that watch every day. Now, myself, I'm one of these speed demons, and I can be in and out of a shower in 20 minutes. That's not enough to charge the watch. So what I have to do, and I haven't figured it out yet, but basically what I have to do is I have to figure out a routine. I read every night before I go to bed. So what I've been trying to do is maybe charge my watch while I read. But there are times that I forget, and Beth will come and she's, do you want your watch? I'm like, oh yeah, because I want to get my stand goal and all that other good stuff. So it's a matter of trying to figure out what where it would fit into something that you do on a regular basis. Like with Beth, it works perfect with the shower. It doesn't work necessarily so perfect for me. It works, but I'm not getting a full charge out of it. I'm getting a 20-minute charge. So, every 3 or 4 days, I do need to add more to it. And that's when I'll put it on while I'm reading or something like that. So it's just a matter of
Dan?
trying to figure out that routine.
Can you overcharge a battery like I put mine in overnight? And is that too long?
No, you can't necessarily overcharge the battery. And Apple has gotten really good at battery management. Their battery management is really good, especially with the latest iOS. And basically, it's the nature of lithium-ion batteries. When they are dead or have a very low charge to them, they charge really fast. And as they get more full, they slow down because you don't want to charge that battery too fast when it's at 90% or whatever. And it even got to the point with iOS 14, what Apple did is they, through their algorithms, kind of figure out your daily habits, and it will not put a full charge on that iPhone until you are ready to pick it up. So let's say I go to the school on Tuesdays and Thursdays. The iPhone knows that. So about 7:30, that's when the iPhone pushes that final charge. So it's very, very good management. Point being, you can leave it on the charger all you want. The phone will let it know what needs to be charged and what not. And like I say, that's the nature of lithium ion batteries. It goes all the way to cars. With all the cars going to electric, you're going to see that the magic sauce to making this whole thing work is going to be battery management. Tesla is really good at battery management. Ford just introduced their electric car, their Ford F-150, the Lightning, yesterday, and it seems pretty good. But I think that it's going to take 2 or 3 generations, of that truck before Ford really gets that. Battery management is now the new secret sauce to making everything work. So, and Apple knows what they're doing with that. They've done the work behind it. So leave it charged. You're fine. Long story short. All right. Let's see here. Other topics. Okay. So Apple introduced, so we're going to go into reminders. If you've updated the latest version of reminders on the iPad and the iPhone, they've added a couple of neat little things, which kind of like, why wasn't that there before? So I'll show you that. I got my phone here. We're going to share it. Now, let's go to QuickTime. Close that. All right, share screen. Okay, so I have my iPhone here, and let's put that down at the bottom. What I'm going to do is open up the Reminders app, and basically what they did is they added sorting and the ability to print. And to do either one, what you have to do is go to the upper right-hand corner to where the 3 dots are, the ellipsis. This is what Apple calls more. If you read through their manuals or whatever, they call this the more button. When I tap on it, we get a drop-down menu. And the first thing is we have sort by. So now all I need to do is just tap on sort by. I can set how I want it sorted. So let's go with creation date, and it just changes sort order. This could particularly come in handy if you use priorities or due date. I think that's where the real key is. It's not like you'd really do them by creation date, but you could sort now your reminders by priority and due date. On top of that, once you sort them, you're going to see down at the bottom, we can also change the sort order. So if I want newest first, now just change the sort order. Nice little trick, works on the iPad, works on the iPhone. The other one that they added, and it's something that I guess I didn't realize was missing, print. You're going to see we have print here. This was not available prior to iOS 14.5. And I did some research. I have not updated to the latest version of macOS Big Sur. I am using Big Sur, but they came out with a version maybe a week or 2 ago. You can't print from the Reminders app. So I'm hoping that they're adding it to the Reminders app on the Mac too. Not that I print that often, but I think it's something that you absolutely should be able to do, especially from the Mac. But at least now from the iPad and the iPhone, I go to print. I select my printer and it'll print those reminders. So
I
those
was
are-
having that issue also, Dan, about not being able to print from the Mac. And then I noticed this morning I was researching, it says it's available in 11.3.
That's,
And
see,
I
I'm
checked
wondering,
my system. Yeah, and I have 11.2.3.
that's what
And
I
I
have.
did a software update and they said I am up to date. So I think it was beta until a week or two ago. So
Right.
it's not
And-
available yet for the upgrade.
Okay, so it is coming. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, I can't imagine, usually the Mac has more features, although, reminders are your reminders app. The notes and scanning. Let's see here. I did a video on this actually on how to scan your vaccination card as an example. If you just wanted to have it with you for whatever reason, but
Katie, you can have it while I get it set up.
what I'll show you. It has a scanner, and it's actually a really handy utility. I showed my brother this probably about a month ago. He likes to take pictures of his receipts. So his photos album was just getting full of photos, and it works kind of nice with the Photos app because it recognizes different things. When you take a photo of a dog, you can search for dog and it will come back and show you all the dogs. You don't have to tag it. So when you search for receipts, it'll show you all the receipts, but it's cluttering up his photos. And I said, well, really what you should do is scan them through Notes. So I'm going to open up the Notes app here and create a new note. You're going to see that we have the camera icon here. And when I tap on that, what I'm able to do is either take a photo or scan a photo. I recommend scanning a photo because what scanning a photo will do is it'll optimize it. It'll read the text where a photo can't read the text. It won't, it's a photo is more or less, like they say, it's a photo. Where a scan, if I take, hold the camera at a different angle, the iPhone will actually try to straighten it. Not going to happen with a photo. So scanning document works much better, especially for like receipts or the vaccination card or anything like that. So I'll show you here. I'm going to scan my desk here. So there's a time card, right? And let's just put it this way. Now, when I do this, I'm going to put it at an angle, and you're going to see that there's going to be a yellow border that goes around. Oh, you could just see it there. The iPhone right now is looking for a document to scan. And once it finds it, I don't even have to press the button. It'll do it all automatic. So let's go and do this here. Back up. There you can see the yellow border there. It just took that and scanned it, and there's my time card. I didn't even have to hit a button. Now, when I save this, you're going to see it does say retake in the upper right-hand corner. I want to save this. I tap on done in the upper left-hand corner. It's now, I go to save in the lower right-hand corner, a couple steps there, but you can see it's now in my notes. And if I want to go back, I go back. On top of that, if we look at the note title, it says Holland Christian Schools. That's the school that I work for. I didn't type that in. The Notes app saw at the top of the time card, Holland Christian Schools. And it figured it was, oh, this is for Holland Christian Schools. And it created the title for the note automatically. So it does that all automatically. We'll do another one here. Let's see here. I bought new tires for my car. And I have here a, like a safety protection, your official documentation. So I'm going to go and tap on the camera. I want to scan this, tap on scan. And again, I didn't have to take a picture or anything like that, and it scanned it. Now this one's a little bit askew. You can see that in the lower right-hand corner. So what I'm able to do is go and crop it. I could retake it if I want. I was taking it at an angle. Really, I should have been straight up above it, but I wanted to show you what you're able to do. If we look here, I can straighten this out. Tap on done. I just straightened it out. So scanning, documents is, if you're going to take a photo, I mean, I love taking photos. I have 26,000 photos, but for scanning, this Notes app is really, really good. On top of that, like I said, what this will do now is take the tire protection. I can apply filters to it. So I want to make it black and white, make it made a little easier to read. When I'm done, tap on save. And it might read that tire. It might be, yeah, there it is. It just put a title in there for tire protection plan. Again, I didn't have to type it in there.
Now, Dan, what are the options to get that note someplace else? Are there any export options for the scans?
So I'm open this up here. What I'm able to do is share it by tapping on the share icon in the upper right-hand corner. I can share it. You're going to see it is just a PDF. When it takes a picture of it, it's a PDF. So now what I'm able to do is airdrop it. I could email it. I could use any of my apps. And on top of that, I can save it to my Files app. And now it's a PDF file and I can do whatever, it's just another file. So the Notes app is kind of like the entry point, and then you can do with it what you want.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes.
It's a beautiful thing. And I'll go one more here. It does multi-page documents, which is really cool. So let's just say I wanted to do the front and back of this tire protection thing. So I'm going to. If you look, you're going to see it says save to in the lower right-hand corner. It just scanned the front and back of that. If I hit save to, there's the front, there's the back. All in one note.
Now, I'm surprised how good the quality is doing the scans.
It
'cause
really,
they're fast. Yeah.
It's really amazing how well it does. But if it doesn't do, quite a good a job, usually with color documents, like I say, you do have filters down at the bottom. You're going to see the 3 circles, like the Olympic kind of thing, except 3 instead of 5. That does allow me to apply filters to make it a little bit better, easier to read in some cases. Not in all cases, but in some cases. I can rotate it. I can crop it, as you saw. And if I wanted to add another scan, I can do that as well. So, and it'll add it to that note. So that's one of my favorite things with the Notes app that I don't think a lot of people realize that it does. They will take photos, not realizing the thing does a really good job of scanning. And you don't even have to name the documents. You're going to see my documents here are already named. I didn't type anything in, and we all know how easy it is to type on the iPhone, right? So,
Okay, that's good tips.
Uh-huh.
all right.
Question.
Yeah.
There you go.
With this Notes is really intriguing, and I'm just now I'm late to Apple, and I'm just discovering the shelf apps and the slide over. So if I took something in Notes, can I put it into Gladys or Yoink with the slide over and then pull it back and stick it into a document?
Yes. So I'm going to plug in my iPad here. I'm not real familiar with Yoink, but if the application supports it, yes. It all depends on if the application itself. iPad OS supports it, but the developer has to add it to the app itself. But yeah, you can drag and drop. That was Apple's whole thing is, you just drag it over to a Pages document and it's in Pages. You want to drag it over to something else, you can drag that over to something else and it'll do it. So yes.
Yeah.
Mhm. And the
What
Notes
is
app
Oink,
is
Jerry?
pretty much the same thing on the iPad. I see that you're on an iPad, so it works virtually the same way on the iPad. So.
Mhm. All right, well, thank you.
Mhm.
I have a question.
What is Oink, Jerry?
Yeah, what is that?
Yoink.
Yeah.
Y-O, it's spelled Y-O-I-N-K. And it's what they call a shelf program, which if you put it in your dock, Dan can help me on this because I had to learn it the other day. And then you touch it and drag it up and to the right, it'll turn into a gray shadow around it and become an app where you can take your finger and slide it off the screen, and it then remains there until you bring it back. And then you can do things like cut and paste, drag and drop off of your text.
That's on the iPad?
Yes.
Because I'm familiar a little bit with that on the Mac. I didn't realize.
Yeah, what came from Mac to there?
I'm gonna have to check that out. So what he's
Whoops.
talking about is it's like a temporary holding thing.
Exactly.
So you
Gladys
want to
and
do something. Yeah, you want to do something with a file. Like he wants to do something with something that he scanned. What he can do is put it in this shelf that Yoink created. He can go and work and do whatever, and then when he needs it, he can pull that shelf back and grab that scanned document and put it into something else, right?
It's a way of
Okay,
saving.
good tip.
If you copy and paste, your clipboard only holds one item.
Yep.
Yoink or Gladys or several of the others, you can stack them in there. And then, in fact, you can stack them together and pull them out in a group, but you can stack them in there and then use them as you need and keep going back to them. So if you put boilerplate in there, it works real well, I think. I haven't got to that point yet, but it looks like it would.
Well, I'm writing that down because I'm going to check that
Okay,
out.
so that's like a clipboard manager, it sounds like.
Bingo.
Okay,
Mhm.
good.
Yep. And the iPad and the iPhone desperately need that. So that's good. I have a clipboard manager on the Mac, but if I'll be glad to use Yoink if that works out like that. So yeah, that's awesome. On ransomware, somebody had a question on
Good.
that. Should I worry about ransomware on iOS? Short answer, no. Everything is sandbox on the iPad and the iPhone. And what I mean by sandbox, think of a literal, sandbox. Anything that developer puts in there has to be contained in that sandbox. So they can't go and grab email addresses or whatever from anything else without your permission. That's why you always see these permission things and all that. It's annoying, but it's really, really smart and protecting your privacy kind of thing. So short answer, no, you cannot. There's been no malware. I think Apple has admitted maybe a couple times, but what you can do to make sure is always update your iPhone and your iPad, the Mac. I'm one of those that as you know, I mentioned earlier, I don't update that on a regular basis, but the iPad and the iPhone, you really want to keep those updates up there. And my family's one of the biggest ones. I don't want to update because they're going to change things. Yeah, but it's for your security. That's the reason why they're doing it. Yes, they do feature changes, but for the most part, always keep your iOS devices updated. And if you do that, you don't have to worry about malware. It's just virtually non-existent. Don't get a virus program. Those are all scams. So, and even on the Mac, it's questionable. Depends on where you go, but just, the key to preventing yourself from ransomware, anything like that, is only open up documents that people have emailed you that you can trust. That is where all of this, even that pipeline thing that happened a couple of weeks ago, it all started from somebody opening up an email that they shouldn't have. Boom, and it just goes through and populates the whole network. It's it's much easier said than done, but you really want to be careful. We've all heard it, but you really want to be careful with opening up any documents that have been sent to you. On the iPhone, the iPad, you're pretty much okay because they're all sandboxed. If you're on a Mac, be a little leery, and then you should be safe. So.
With the strong password, can you talk about that? Is that like really safe to use? Should I be using a third-party password helper?
No, I mean, I shouldn't say that. I do like 1Password, but I used to use 1Password, which is a really strong, a really good, well-respected password manager. But about 2 years ago, I switched all to Apple. No, their strong passwords are as safe as any, and it really works well. No, you absolutely, if you are in the where you want to use something like 1Password or another password manager, LastPass, is when you have devices that are non-Apple. If you are fully vested in the Apple world, I am. I do not have any other devices. Their iCloud or whatever keychain and their password manager work perfectly fine.
Wonderful.
You're not going to have.
Thank you. Yeah.
Jerry, you had one more?
Dan, real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, real quick. I just took notes, scanned a dummy receipt, and then passed it off to Yoink, and it shows up in Yoink on my iPhone.
Oh, nice. That's I was wondering. I'm going to be,
So
that's
it
one of the
works.
first thing I'm going to do once I get off of this call is take a look at Yoink. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
going to do is, if anyone wants me, as soon as I get off this call, I'm going to add a coupon code. Like I say, you can go and browse my site, totally free for the month of May. If you like what you see, I do ask for your support. I'm a one-man operation. This is how I make my living. I don't have any advertisements. I'm not a YouTuber or anything like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a coupon code. So if you do sign up, enter in the coupon code CHUG, and you'll get a discount. I'm going to add a 25% discount to any of the plans. So then you can use that. And I'll just
Okay,
let
that's
that
very
go. So,
generous.